Hey, what's going on everyone? On this video, we are going to be covering the top 10 Linux interview questions for network engineers. And this is going to help you find any weak spot you may have on the Linux fundamental so you can work on them before your interview. So without further ado, let's dive into it. How would you check the IP address of an interface? Before I show you how to view the interface IP address, just keep in mind that on Linux, there's usually more than one way of getting something done. And this applies to simple things such as viewing the interface IP address. So let me show you the first method here. Okay, so as you might have noticed here, we not only got the IP address of all the interfaces on this system, but we also got information such as the interface status, the MTU configuration, the interface MAC address, and even the IPv6 address assignment here. Now, if you want to be more specific when it comes to the interface that you want the information from, you can pass the interface name to the same command that we used above. So let me show you how to do that here. Okay, so we got the same kind of information here. The only difference is that I passed the interface ESN33 as an argument to the command that we used before, and we got the result only for that interface. Now, let me show you how to get the same information using the legacy network utility, which is the ifconfig. Okay, so this is the result that we get when we use the legacy ifconfig. And in this case, I went ahead and passed the interface name as an argument to the ifconfig. Now, taking a look at the output of this command, we can see that we got sort of the same kind of information, such as the interface status, the MTU configuration, the IP address. Also, we get things such as the IPv6 address assignment. Now, if you take a look at the bottom of this output, we are getting things such as packet transmitted and packet received on that interface, which is kind of handy. But just keep in mind that the ifconfig is a legacy network utility, and due to this, it might not be available on the system that you're testing on. How do you check the layer 2 status of an interface? Okay, so for you to get the layer 2 information of an interface, you're going to be using the same commands that we used on a previous example, and that is the IP network utility or the ifconfig. So let me show you how to get the layer 2 status of an interface using the IP network utility. Okay, so as you notice, we only got layer 2 related information by using the IP followed by link followed by show and the interface that we are passing to this program. This is how you can get layer 2 information of an interface using the IP network utility. Now, you can also get the same information that you see here on the screen by using the legacy method, which is the ifconfig. How do you check the R table? You can use the IP network utility to also view the R table. Let me show you how you can do that. Okay, so for you to view the R table using the IP network utility, you'll use the IP space neighbor space show. Now let me show you how to view the R table in systems where you don't have the IP network utility. Alright, so for you to view the R table on systems where you don't have the IP network utility, you can just go with the R program and pass the -n argument in order for the R program to not do any naming resolution. How do you check the IP routing table? Okay, so this one could easily be the most common question when it comes to Linux for network engineers. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways for you to view the routing table on a Linux system. Okay, so let me show you how to view the routing table with the IP network utility. This is how you can view the routing table using the IP network utility. If you want, you can pass an additional argument, which will be the show keyword, but it is going to give you the same result. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear the screen so I can show you the next way to view the route table. Alright, so this is another way for you to view the routing table by using just the route command. Now, there's another way for you to view the routing table, which is not very common, and that is by using the NetStat program on Linux. So let me show you how to use that. All right, so that's how you can get the routing table by using the NetStat program on Linux. And for the NetStat to give you the routing table, you need to make sure to pass the -r argument to the NetStat program. How would you check the open ports on a Linux system? Okay, so this one is a very common interview question. And for you to be able to see the ports, be it TCP or UDP ports that the local system is listening on, you'll need to use NetStat. And let me show you how you can see the ports this system is listening on. Alright, so as you can see here, starting from the left, we have the protocol, be it TCP or UDP. Then we have the local IP address that has been bound to the given port we are listening on. Then we got the foreign column, then the state of the port. And finally, we have the PID, which stands for process ID, and the program name, which will be the process that is listening on that port. Again, so in order for you to see all this information here, you'll use NetStat, and as an argument, you'll pass the -t, which will be for TCP, then U, which will be for UDP, L, which will be for listening, meaning that you only want to see currently open ports, the P, which will be for the process ID, and then the N, which will be for the service name. How would you capture network traffic on a Linux system? Okay, so there are many ways of running a packet sniffer on a Linux system, but the most commonly used one is TCP dump. And that's the one that we are going to cover on this part. So for you to capture network traffic on a given interface, you will use TCP dump this way. Alright, so as you can see here, I went ahead and set up a packet sniffer using TCP dump. At this moment, the TCP dump has taken control of the terminal. So that's why you're not seeing the terminal prompt coming back, because the packet sniffer is still capturing traffic. So in order for me to gain control of the terminal again, I'll need to terminate this process by hitting Ctrl+C. Okay, I went ahead and terminated the process, and as we all can see here, we were able to capture 196 packets. So before we go into how to view or how to read that capture file, let me break down the line where I executed TCP dump. So starting from the left, we have sudo. And the reason you need sudo here is because by default, TCP dump is going to require elevation in order for you to perform a packet sniffer. Now, after the sudo, I am basically defining the process name that I want to execute. And in this case, it's going to be TCP dump. So to TCP dump, you'll need to pass certain arguments, including the interface that you want to capture traffic on. Then the -w, which will be for you to be able to write the traffic that's been captured onto a file. There are many other arguments that you can pass to TCP. And if you want to know what those are, I recommend you to view the man page or the manual page for TCP dump. And that's something that you can quickly do by executing the man program and then passing TCP dump as an argument. That's going to give you basically the manual page for this program. Okay, so let me show you now how you can read the capture file that we just created here. First of all, let's make sure that we do have the testcapture.pcap on this directory. There we have it. That is the capture that we just created with TCP dump. So let's go ahead and see how we can read this file. For that, we are going to need TCP dump. And instead of just defining an interface or defining the -w, like to write a file, we are going to use the -r, and then we are going to basically pass the file that we want to read. And that is all the traffic that we were able to capture during our testing before. How do you check the CPU and memory utilization? Alright, so this is going to be a quick one. In order for you to see both the CPU and memory utilization on a Linux system, you're going to want to use something like top. There are many other variants of top, such as the htop, but we don't have that running on this system here. Let me show you how you can view those stats using top. Alright, so as you can see here, we have a lot of information. But the thing that we need to care about is at the top, and it's basically the third line from top to bottom, which has the percent, then CPU. That's gonna tell you the utilization of the CPU. So if you have a multi-core or multi-thread CPU, you're gonna wanna hit number 1 on your keyboard, and that is going to show you the CPU utilization on a per core basis. Now the next line below is the memory utilization. So that's going to give you the total memory you have on the system, the free memory, and the used memory. How do you check the status of a process? Alright, so this is gonna be another quick one. In order for you to see the status of a process, you can use either the ps command or the tab command. So let me show you the ps command first. Okay, so this is how you can use the ps command to show you the status of the process along with other information such as the user under which that process is running, the process ID, even the CPU and memory utilization. But the status of the process you're gonna find on the column that says stat. Now let me clear the screen and show you how to do the same thing using tab. So using tab, you will be able to see a lot of information for each process, such as the process ID, the user under which that process is running, the priority, the nice value. But the status of the process, you're gonna find under the column with a capital S. How do you start services on a Linux system? Okay, so there are two ways in order for you to start a service on Linux. The first one is the old way of managing services, which is using the service command. And the second one is the new way of managing services on current Linux distributions, which is using the systemctl command. So let me show you the first one first. Alright, so this is how you use the service command to view the status of a service. In this case, I went ahead and checked the status of the SSH daemon or service, and this one is actually running. So let me go ahead and stop this service so I can show you how to start the service again. Okay, so now that I stopped the SSH service, let's go ahead and have a look at the status of it. Alright, so as we can see here on the active section, it says inactive. So this service is no longer running. So let me show you how to start this process again. Alright, so that one actually prompted me to enter the root password since this action requires elevations. With that done, let's go ahead and have a look at the status of the service again. Okay, so as you can see here, the service is already running again. Now let me show you the new way of managing services on current Linux distributions. Okay, so for you to see the status of a service, you'll use the systemctl followed by status, then followed by the service. So for the systemctl, the order of arguments is different from the other way of managing processes with the service command. So here you pass the status first, or the action first, and then the service. Now let me show you how to stop this service so we can then start the service again using the systemctl. Alright, so let's have a look at the service status again. And again, the service is no longer running. So let me show you how to start this service again using the systemctl. Okay, so let's have a look at the current status of the service now. Alright, so the service is now running again. How would you check the Linux kernel version? Okay, so for you to be able to see details of the Linux kernel that you're using, such as the version or release number, you're gonna want to use the uname command. Okay, so this is how you can use the uname command to see details of the Linux kernel that you're running on the system. So I went ahead and passed the -a argument in order for me to get all information regarding this Linux kernel. So there are other arguments that can help you just narrow down to the portion of this that you want to see, such as the R for you to see the release number. Let me show you that here. Alright, so this is gonna wrap it up for this video. I really hope you found something of value here, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.